Hello, my pixelated friends. I have a window open, so there might be a little bit of noise. Yeah. It's 1,000 degrees in my room, and sorry. Um, but the first thing I wanted to talk about in this is that I know I haven't been recording a whole bunch, and what I have recorded is weird edited World of Tanks stuff. But for a while there, I found it hard to find a reason to record because it's not normal to me. A lot of YouTubers that you might watch have very regular videos, and it's because it's their normal life. It's awkward to me, and so I was trying to find specific things to talk about, and specific, I have to find something really interesting. But in reality, we it's not necessary. Everything that I was doing to try to find the perfect podcast, topic, what was really dumb of me. All it was doing was putting me down, putting me in a bad mood, and what I essentially don't want these to turn into is me talking about I don't want them to be like a captain's log. I don't want to be a vlog. I don't want to be any of that while World of Warcraft's running in the background that I occasionally talk about. I mean, that is kind of what it is in the sense of they are my ideas a lot of the time, and they are a lot of the time me helping or teaching or whatever. I don't even remember what was in the last podcast, to be perfectly honest with you. So this is completely random as far as you're concerned. Sorry. Actually, I don't even know what I was doing. But the big issue that I ran into was is I don't want to turn it into a vlog. I don't want to turn it into a captain's log. I might, if that suits me better, if I can, put these out a little bit more regularly with that in mind, or I'll just not have a schedule for them, and I'll put them up whenever I have cool ideas. But from what I understand, people were seeing it as a way to vaguely plot out a route for for leveling, and for that you have this. It's your adventures guide. It tells you suggested content you should be doing. It tells you where you should go, what dungeons you can do at this point, any raids that might be feasible for you, although for me right now it isn't. These are level 60 raids. Any loot that you might get throughout the raids or the anything like that. So it's actually this is what? Huh. Those are actually not what I thought they were. Anyway, these are right. This is weird. Don't bother with that. These are right. So there's all of these different raids you can do, the dungeons, all these different you can switch to Wrath of the Lich King, you can switch to Classic, which is what I'm in right now. A Burning Crusade, which is 60 and up, and then Wrath of the Lich King, which is 70? 70? Something like that. 70 and up. And then Cataclysm, which start hitting 80. This goes up to 90, 100, and then finally 110 is the max level for these guys. But this is what you should follow. This is really good. It helps out a lot of people. I've personally never used it for anything other than this loot tab at max level. But it's a good way to go. Also, if you're doing it purely through questing, you're not doing any dungeons, you're not doing anything like that, for the most part, the quests will run into each other. You'll end up in other zones without realizing it, even, unless you notice the big flying text on the screen. Yeah, that one. But it's you don't really. You'll be sent to other areas. That's not a question. Now, I do have a topic for this. This one because of the post that I put in the Discord announcements area pertaining to the Warhammer stuff that I want to start up. I don't actually have a camera still. I have to pay my buddy to get his camera and then use that. But it's a new way of playing Warhammer, and I'm not even certain if anybody in the community that would watch these would be interested in that. I know one person would, so I'm kind of doing this for him. Yeah, you probably know who you are, so that's cool. Anyway, it's a little bit of a tournament style game rather than just a play on it like the Death Watch company thing. Not like that, which is, your little 5-man group. It's not that. What the frick were we doing? Alright, let me see here. We did these apparently. Wow, I should have looked at what we were doing before. Shara. Now let's go to the Northern Barrens. I know the stuff over there. Anyway, the way that this works is on a population and currency mechanism. You can easily turn it into a tournament. Think of it as an escalation tournament. For those who don't know, Warhammer is built off of a point system for your army. It's a tabletop game. It's an army strategy tabletop game. And you bring your army, and it's on a specific point scale. This infantry unit is, 10 points, but you have to take him in a unit of 5, so the unit is 50 points. Upgrades are such and such an amount of points. Yada, yada, yada. That's how Warhammer works. This is, unfortunately, still using the point system, which I don't like because it makes certain races in Warhammer quite overpowered and some very underpowered, but it mitigates it a little bit. So there's Space Marines, Sisters of Battle, any of them that are in that basic codex I've listed as Imperium, because for the most part, even Blood Angels and Space Wolves, which is what I actually scaled it off of, it has a population count. So a Rhino is 2 population because you need 2 men to crew it. Land Raider is 3 man. So you'd need 3 population to crew it. You need 3 infantry. Each model on the board is 1 population point, 1 infantry. It's your actual, it's your population. The number of men you have. But all the Sisters of Battle, the Dark Angels, the Blood Angels, all of them, White Scars, Space Wolves, they're all Imperium. I just listed them as that because it's easier. And they all kind of play the same way anyway. Yes, there's this little nuances here and there. White Scars like their bikes. This is these run Death Stars. What about Super Friends? And what about whatever? They're all Imperium. They start with 200 population. So if you wanted to, you could run 2 games of 100 infantry guys and be fine. And then the only one that I couldn't really scale for reference is upgrades. Upgrades cost, for the Imperium, coins. Cost a monetary amount because you're buying equipment. So hang on, let me see here. I have notes next to me, so forgive me if I'm flipping through an iPad. Coins and scrap. You can trade things like coins for some sort of value, whether it be declare, to have somebody declare war on somebody else, or think of it as an overarching war rather than a battle by battle tournament. So your population stays static. Your coins stay static unless you get more, and your population does grow every round, which would be, you know, for at the moment it'd be every week because we're doing it once a week. But you can trade coins with people, but you can't just give coins. So you have to say you have to, you know, battle this person, or you have to, you know, owe me later on with lesser or the same amount or more coins, you know, something like that. Let me see here. I believe I have it somewhere that coins, how many points per coin. For now, we're just going to go with this. Every 5 points is every 5 points in upgrades. So if you say you get a Space Marine and it comes with, you know, a bolt pistol and a close combat weapon or something, he costs 1 population. That's all he costs. He doesn't cost anything for the close combat weapon or the bolt pistol. But if you give him, you know, I don't really know Marines very well, but if you give him, say, a bolt rifle, you know, or a heavy bolter, there we go, give him a heavy bolter, or a plasma pistol, or, you know, anything like that, every 5 points, because generally things are in units of 5, unless you look at, say, like orcs, in which case, you know, there's the shooters, which are 1 point each, and, you know, they get weird, but generally they're in increments of 5. Every 5 points is 2 coins, which doesn't seem like much, but it adds up real quick. Because not only for a... Oh, shit. Sorry about that. Throw that over there on the bed. Real professional. Not only are you paying for, on a vehicle, you're paying for the crew with population points, but you're also paying for the vehicle itself. You need to be able to make or buy the vehicle. Which, by the way, you can also buy vehicles off of other people who still have them from previous battles. The only things that stay in your army after each battle is vehicles and... what, actually, is my sound on? Is vehicles and... barely. What's it? Vehicles and HQ choices. You know, big guys. But every, what was it? I have a notebook too. I'm not going to look for it right now, but every, I think it was 10 points is a coin on a vehicle. So if you're, or every 2 points was a coin. There's a scaling system to it, and I'll explain the coins better in the description. I'll put it in the description how many points per coin, how many, you know, how that works out, and I'll get that. But every time you upgrade something, every time you put something new on it, you're just adding to your dollar amount, even though your population isn't going down. Or you can throw out a bunch of basic Marines at somebody and keep your starting, what is it, 20,000 coins? Yeah, 20,000 coins. The entire campaign, which, good on you. I don't think I'd be able to do something like that. But your population is, like, non-existent. But then we move on. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different armies I've already kind of rough sketched. Imperial Guard have 550 population over the Imperium, you know, the Space Marines 200, and have 30,000 coins. That's because they're normally big blobs. They use a lot more vehicles. They use, you know, they're normal humans. They need more stuff. And a lot of times they're not quite as punchy as, you know, a unit of Space Marines. Imperial Knights, which I did separate out from the Imperium because, no, have 5 population because in their lore, originally it was a 3-man crew. Now they've switched it to a 1-man crew. which means instead of a 15 population, I would have 5, and that's to justify you being able to go into 2 battles, a 3 and a 2, or 2 battles, you know, depending on what's going on. And then they have very small amount of coins. They have 15,000 coins because their upgrades don't cost very much, and you know, that's subject to change. I'm probably going to lower that. Here we go. Here's some quests. Probably going to lower that quite a bit because they're really not very expensive upgrades. Moving on, we have the orcs at 650 population, and they have a different currency. They have scrap. A lot of the Xenos have scrap. So orcs have 20,000 scrap. In terms of buying upgrades, it's the same as for coins. Nothing changes. So, you know, if it costs 100 coins, it's going to cost 100 scrap. But the benefits and downsides to scrap and coins I'll get into later. And then Eldar and Dark Eldar, because they're played fairly similarly in terms of how many things are fielded, are 300 population, 30,000 scrap, because they're fairly they're fairly upgraded. They have a lot of really nice, really expensive tanks and weapons platforms and all that. So they get more scrap to start with. It doesn't necessarily mean that they'll keep that scrap. You know, if you keep slaughtering them, then they're not going to keep the scrap. But you know, for general purpose, they have that. Tyranids they can't use scrap or coins. They have evolution points, and they're the only ones that have it because they're Tyranids. They don't really play well with others. Thanks, I'm recording. You just honk your horns. That's fine. You know, that's cool, I guess. Anyway, the Tyranids start with 700 population because you need them gaunts. Gaunts are your lifeblood, and you need a lot of them. And they're cheap, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not actually supposed to be freeing these guys yet, because the quest is over there. And then they start with 25,000 evolution points. That again, all the coins, scrap, and evolution point starting values are subject to change a lot, because I have no idea what's required to start with for 2 nice-sized armies. You know, say 1,500 points, 1,000, 700, something like that. To field twice. So in terms of that, you're not actually looking at a 700 population, you're looking at 350. Demons, which I just lumped as demons, that's Karn, Demonkin, that's Chaos Demons Codex, that's all that, is, is 600 population and 20,000 scrap. You know, they're like orcs, only a little bit less bodies because they got things like soul grinders. And then Necrons, 300 bodies, 300 population, and 15,000 scrap, because pretty much all of their upgrades go to their go to their HQs. So there's really no point in them having 1,000,000 scrap. They would never use it. I mean, they do have fairly expensive vehicles sometimes, but even them you can get away with pretty easily with 15,000 scrap. There are some special traits to the game, which is every round you're given 10% on a general basis. You're given 10% of your starting population. Like every round. So if you had 100 population to begin with, or you have 200 population to begin with, you're going to get 20 population every week, just flat. No gaming really required. I mean, you're required to at least battle once that week to get it, but other than that, No, you could win, lose, you get 10%. That's just to keep people in the game a little bit longer. And then, you know, it's 10% plus any bonuses, any rewards, so if you get, you know, some sort of farming plot, or, you know, you build some sort of base or whatever on a planet or on a territory, we're not supposed to be in here. You might get more, so you'd get 10%, and then you'd get that bonus, which, you know, maybe you get 3% more, you know, so it'd be 13% you'd be getting at that point, which is a little bit different than 10 and 3, but whatever. Oh no, it isn't, because it's always base. It'd always be base. Rambling. HQ and Lord of War choices, you pay for any sort of upgrade that you can find in the book, you have to pay for. So he starts out with an Iron Halo, you're paying for that Iron Halo. If not, he doesn't have it. Mostly that's for Lords of War, for Dante. But whatever. And again, that's probably going to change. At the moment, you know, I'm looking at it and going, there's a lot of Lords of War and a lot of HQ choices that you know, they don't really have any upgrades, and the ones that do kind of need those upgrades to survive. So I'm probably going to change that, but for now, that's what it is. Specific characters are, you know, anybody named, or anybody that's a unique, you know, you can only have one of them per, you know, battle. So Dante, Mephiston, Grotsnik, Avatar of Cain, I remember, is actually not specific, but one of your big Farseers would be for Eldar. I don't know any named Eldar Farseers at the moment off the top of my head. But yeah, they're all specific characters. All the named guys, all the unique guys. You can only have one per army. If they're killed in battle, then inventory's full. If they're killed in battle, then you can do one of two things. You can wait 4 rounds, so you'd have to wait, you know, probably a little over a month, 4 weeks, to get them back, and then they'll just, you know, be available to you again. Or for every point that they cost base, you can pay 25 coins or scrap to get them. That's a little bit, you know, steep, but a lot of specific characters that you'd be using anyway are quite expensive and really good. So I didn't see any problems with that. Here's one big difference. I'm gonna bring this over here so that I don't have to keep turning. One big difference between, or one of the big things for scrap versus coin armies is scrap-based armies can trade for coins, and coin-based armies can trade for scrap with opposing players. However, your faction's upgrade style cannot change. Meaning, if you're Imperium and you want that heavy bolter, but you just traded the orcs all of your coins for their scrap, you cannot have that heavy bolter. Nobody wants random scrap metal in the Imperium. It's just not what they do. I mean, it is, but for the sake of the game, it's not. He's running away. Good job, dude. You're my quest giver, and you're running away from me. But you can interchange. Stop running. You can interchange between them. So you want to give somebody all of your scrap for all of their coins, go ahead, but you won't be able to buy any vehicles or anything. I don't have boots on. And then, of course, there's a special rule for swarm armies, which are orcs and Tyranids at the moment, which is for every 250 population, the player gains a 1% increase in army growth. Meaning, right from the get, orcs you know, even without me going into specifics about the orcs and stuff, which I will in a moment, the orcs and Tyranids, because they're the only ones I believe I gave the rule at the moment, orcs have not a 10%, but they have a 12%, and Tyranids also have a 12%. I made it so that they would be the same for that buff, because otherwise it might get a little bit out of hand. For the most part, starting out just on this rule set, which you can actually play from just fine, you can, they will normally, under normal circumstances, they'd probably end up with 11% each. Off of that, just the basic setup. Alright, now we need to get these, let me take this quest. Yeah, originally I know it was supposed to be a big lore thing that I was doing here, but I really don't want to do that. I'll do a reading out lore series at some point, but it's not going to be this one. This one I'm going to use for my relaxation. But you can play off of that. Now, there are specific rules for mostly, at the moment, the Xenos, you know, Tyranids, Orcs, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Necrons. But let's go to the coin and scrap. So coins can be traded between players using using players to gain upgrades and vehicles, but must be bartered. You cannot trade coins for nothing. Whether it be an attack or a favor or declaring war, you must trade something. If scrap is gained, you can sell 5 scrap for 1 coin. That's just to the ether. That's, you know, to the referee. That's to the game master. That's to me. In terms of our stuff that we're doing around here. Once again, details in the Discord. I'm not going to repeat them here. But that's that. If you want to, you know, trade to an orc at, you know, 4 scrap every coin, because he has coins he can't use, and you have scrap you can't use, and you want to do a little bit cheaper, and he agrees, you can do that. But as a basic thing, people are going to be getting scrap metal. So, you know, and coins for that matter. You're going to pick up a few extra coins here and there. The scrap guys pick up less coins than the, you know, coin guys pick up less scrap, but it is there. Here's a big factor for scrap though. Scrap in a team game. All right, so you know, say there are orcs and they're playing together. You know, 3 orc players all together. Scrap is treated as a pool per team. In the case of a single-player team, your pool is not influenced by another team's pool. You can also scrap current held vehicles and equipment for new gear. That's the big ticket item for scrap. There's also some other things for scrap that I'll get into in a minute. But you can take that looted wagon, you can take that truck, you can take that, even the Eldar, you can take that fire prism, melt it down for however much scrap you paid for it. Maybe I'll put a little bit of a reduction in the amount you get, because you know you are refabricating it. But you get that back to use in other things, so your army's not static. Coins can't do that. You can't sell your equipment. You can upgrade your equipment. You can, you know, if say you take a what is the big flamer version, the big flamethrower version of the what's its not the bigger than a rhino, Land Raider. There we go. You take the big flamer version of the Land Raider, and then you go into battle with a standard Land Raider. You know, you just took off the flamey bits, the hot bits, and then shoved it into battle, and it blows up. You still have the upgrade kit for the flame version, so you buy a basic Land Raider, And it can be the flame one, you know, so long as it, you know, it is right in my head and the flame one is more expensive. It might be the other way around. Either way, you have the kit to do it. You know, you have all those pieces. Where are more of those dudes? I need one more plane strider. Anyway, that's something that everybody does. But for the most part, if you're using scrap, just scrap it and then put it into upgrades. If you're not using the flamers, scrap them. And that would be the point difference between the original and the thing. The other thing, 15 scrap is gathered per infantry unit killed, regardless of size. Meaning, not model, unit. So I kill a 5-man scout squad, or a 10-man scout squad of Marines with my orcs. I get 15 scrap. I kill a 30-man blob of Imperial Guard. I get 15 scrap. That's it. Your boys cannot carry any more than that. You know, it's not a matter of how much scrap they had on them, you know, because they got a lot of guns, they got a lot of armor, they got a lot of this, that, and the other thing. It's just you can't carry anymore. Along with 25 is gathered per vehicle destroyed. If the scrap collecting army is wiped out, all scrap that was used or was gathered is left and can be collected by coin or scrap using factions. So your orcs ram their face into a territory 4 or 5 times, and lose all of that scrap. All of it's gone to the ether. Actually, it's not. It's gone to the territory. So all those upgrades with a slight deficit, or diminishing amount, all those upgrades are still sitting there. They haven't left. It's not like, you know, it's not like anything's going on really. It's a matter of all of it is there. So if you're Blood Angels and you face orcs, you can pick up all their scrap if you choose. You know, every single little upgrade that they had with, again, a little bit of a diminishing return, which is kind of the up to the ref or game master, whatever you want to call him, because this is more of a RPG style thing. It's up to them at the moment because I haven't been able. I did this in like a few hours. But either way, that's still there. Coins are different. Coins don't drop. You know, they get buried into the dirt and you'll never find them again. So a little bit different. Continuing on, we have the two main different ones that I was doing is Orcs and Tyranids. Orcs have a couple of special rules on them right now. Orcs gain 5,000 scrap for 2 rounds in a new territory taken. So you gain, at the end of 2 turns, or actually at the end of each turn, you gain 5,000 scrap for 2. I say turn, I mean round, interchangeable word in my head for some reason. But you have a potential to gain on a new territory 10,000 scrap. But the orcs lose 15,000 scrap for staying in one area more than 3 rounds. That's just a one-time, one-off. This can be mitigated by building, you know, an outpost on it. Other than that, you should be moving, because that's what you do. You're orcs. Orcs also don't have a 10% population increase. They have a 15% starting. So good for them. They grow a little bit faster. They grow actually 1.5 times as fast as everybody else. And then of course they have growing horror. So every time, every 250 population they have at that moment, at the end of the round, that means after all battles, which means you want to be fighting the Tyranids and the Orcs a lot. They gain 1% more for every 250 population, which also means you want to be using less population to begin with, and then swarm people later, which might be a strategy, or swarm them to begin with because you have more population. I don't know. You guys decide. You can play it. Go ahead. I ain't stopping you. Alright, onward to Tyranids. Tyranids don't interact with scrap or coins. They don't care. So Tyranids are given 25 evolution points per body killed, including their own points used on friendly bodies. I wrote that wrong. Here, how about I rephrase it to the way it makes sense? Tyranids gain 25 evolution points for every body killed. So that's not per unit. That's if you have a 10-man scout squad, you're getting 250 evolution points. Along with each and every gaunt that died, you get 25 evolution points. You don't get anything, any upgrades you gave them, you don't get back. So you have, what is it? You have a Carnifex with Crushing Claws. You don't get the Crushing Claws refunded. You just get the Carnifex for 25 points. Yes, he's a monstrous creature. Don't care. It's 25 evolution points. Every single body. You don't get your population back from it either. They're dead. I know that lore-wise it's a little bit wrong, but it works better that way, so they don't just steamroll people. But you still kind of will, because they don't have a 10%. No. They don't have a 15%. No. They have a 20% base population increase every round. So that's a lot of Tyranids. You're gaining. Hang on. How about we have a calculator? We can do this. I could probably do it in my head, but I'm using a calculator because calculator. So what, they start with 700, and you multiply that by 0.2. Every round you're gaining 140 bodies. That's base. They don't have Tyranids. I'm gonna try to make so that they don't have too many ways to upgrade it past that, other than the growing horror. But that's a lot of bodies. That's a lot of things you got to kill now. That's 140 gaunts. That's every Carnifex that they spawn. That's one body. Which is why there's still the point scaling system. You don't just, I have 10 Marines because I'm saving my population, or I don't have much population left, and you're fielding 140 Carnifexes. That's not cool. So, there's still the point system. You decide on games. Though they'd probably be 1,000, 1,500 at most. If you're hitting 2,000, that's like you've been playing this type for a very long time. This specific game for a very long time, because you got a lot of population to spare. Or a lot of upgrades, at least, to spare, on vehicles and stuff. Because that should always be the limiting factor. You should always not have enough population, but have enough scrap coins, evolution points. Necrons and Necrons, Eldar, Dark Eldar, I don't really have anything for yet. In the works, I'm trying to think up a way to have a reserve army list for swarm armies, so you can have 15% extra points. So you have a 100-point game, which that doesn't really happen, but you have a 100-point game. Yeah. Oh wait, is my inventory full? Yeah. You have a 100-point game. You can get. Oh, I did a dungeon at some point. Cool. You have a 100-point game. The swarm armies have 115 points. That includes if they're up against another swarm army. They just have it. Wind shear. Yes, no, yeah, wind shear. Haha, I have my interrupt. What is this? Earthbind totem. Oh, okay. Put that up there. So you have 115 points. If you have a 1,000-point game, you get 150 extra points. it adds up quick. Which is also why you wouldn't want to be playing too high point things. Oh, caravan escorted. That's here somewhere. I gotta wait for them. And then of course I want to implement some sort of research system, some sort of. Oh, they changed it. Good, because that means people don't just, you know, take your caravan, because that was a thing. But I want to make some sort of research system, but I have to get the rest of the codices in order to do that. I need to compare and contrast upgrades for every army in order to see what would go with what. You know, is a rhino actually the same punching power as a truck? Maybe. I mean, the truck has much higher, not much higher, but a higher carrying capacity of 12, and but it only has a gun. But there are orcs in it. You know, well, the rhino has a bunch of different things you can put on it, and you know, upgraded engines you can have. I guess it can have the truck can have a red paint job too, which means they're kind of equal, but it's weird. And I don't have any of those codices, so I can't really do a research system for like 4 armies and have them at a deficit at the beginning of the game while everybody else is moving on. So that's the recent plans. I know we didn't really do much in terms of leveling, but to be perfectly honest, that wasn't the point of today anyway. I had to get back in the groove of things. I didn't remember what we were doing, so that's a little bit my fault. Sorry about that. But with that, I'm going to release you guys back into your screens. So have a wonderful, however long till I see you again, my pixelated friends.